The funhouse has it all. There's a misunderstood monster, plenty of slasher vibes, and of course, a funhouse. I'd be pretty disappointed if there wasn't a funhouse in this movie. Directed by Tobe Hooper right after he did Salem's Lot, this was supposed to be Universal's answer to movies like Friday the 13th. Let's see how bloody the funhouse gets. I'd also like to note that Tobe Hooper turned down directing E.T. because of this film. So let that sit in the back of your mind while we watch. It opens up, as most of Hooper's movies do, with a fully decked out kids' room. They didn't skimp on the props here either. Movie posters, masks, sexual torture devices. This kid's got it made. Elsewhere in the house, we see this chick taking a shower, and you just know what's gonna happen. The killer attacks in a scene that looks like it's taken straight from Psycho. He goes in to stab her in the stomach, but it's just a rubber knife. Yeah, you guessed it. It was her brother the whole time. Amy here is obviously pretty ticked off at her little brother Joey. Not only for the prank, but he just saw her butt naked as well. Well, she catches up to him and yells at the kid, saying that now she's not gonna take him to the carnival this weekend. Downstairs, we meet their folks, who seem to be more interested in watching The Bride of Frankenstein than taking care of their own kids. Amy's boyfriend Buzz picks her up, and a few of their friends head to the carnival. What happens for the next 20 to 30 minutes or so is what you would expect. They ride rides, go see exhibits, but honestly, none of it matters. There is a part where we see a cow with two heads and a deformed human fetus, but you can tell that this is just filler. Now, don't get me wrong, I expected to see rides in a movie called Funhouse, but if they chopped out most of this, it would have made for a pretty good TV movie. Like, look at this. Was this necessary? I've never been to a carnival that had a tent full of naked women. Trust me, you're not missing much. While Amy and her friends goof around, her brother Joey sneaks out of the house and starts hoofing it to the carnival. On his way there, a guy stops to give him a ride, and instead of being nice about it, it gets straight up human trafficking real quick. Luckily, Joey runs away, and he eventually makes it, pays to get in, and wanders around. Honestly, it's pretty late. This place is only going to be open for like another half an hour or so. It's kind of a waste of his money, but okay. Elsewhere at the park, Richie comes up with the great idea to sneak into the funhouse and try to stay there for the night. Finally, something's going to happen. Well, at first, it's pretty clear what they're going to be doing, but then they hear something happening underneath them. In the basement, under the funhouse, we see Frankenstein pay the fortune teller for a little action. $100 too. Well, she gives him a handy and gets up to leave. But I guess Frankie feels like he didn't get his money's worth. He gets mad and ends up choking her to death. The kids witnessing all this through the cracks in the floor. Being as quiet as they can, they all look for an exit, but end up in the same room as the stiff. Richie heads on to just make sure that she's really dead, while the others find a door. But tough luck, it's locked. In fact, every door is locked up tighter than Fort Knox. There's no escape. They end up back where they started, and we see Frankie with his father, another worker, Freak Show Barker, who helps him get rid of the evidence. While they talk, Barker realizes that all his money's missing and assumes that his son took it. But really, it was Richie. Remember when he went in to check on the fortune teller? Yeah, he stole the money. Barker makes his son hit himself as a punishment, and I don't know if that's just sad or funny. So I guess I'll go with funny. He goes ham too, hitting so hard that he knocks his mask off in a real doozy of a reveal. Yeah, Frankenstein, which this movie affectionately calls him Geek, is malformed, and honestly looks pretty creepy. This is an image that'll stick with you. While they watch father beat his son, or I guess son beat his son, a lighter falls out of Richie's pocket, right onto the floor below. Oops. Instantly, Barker knows something's up, and he doesn't want them to walk out of here. Outside, Joey's still wandering around, and maybe he'll be their ticket to salvation? Oh, guess not. Inside, Richie's telling some story when the power comes on. A skeleton comes out of the ground, and a rope comes down, snatching up Richie. As if things couldn't get worse, one of the carts comes to life and something's riding on it. Buzz grabs a prop axe, which just so happens to be real, and gets ready. And once the thing's close, he attacks it, hitting it square in the head. But it's not the geek riding in the cart, it's Richie! I'm not gonna lie, that one got me. Everyone runs around like a chicken with its head cut off, and Liz falls through a trap door. Finally, things are moving along. Outside, we see Joey gets picked up by his parents. But little do they know that just meters away, their daughter is fighting for her life. Elsewhere, we see that Liz did in fact survive the fall, and now the geek is coming for her. She knows what he wants, and with no other option, she offers it to him. Just so we're clear here, we're talking about sex. He gives her a hug, and not willing to hold up her end of the bargain, Liz stabs our boy in the back, literally. Well, that's enough to tick him off, and he kills Liz. But then, he can't get the knife out of his back. There's just two left now, and Barker means business, explaining that he's only here to protect his family. Blood's thicker than water. A fight breaks out, but Buzz is a pretty big dude, and he manages to impale Barker on a real sword. I always assumed funhouses use props, but I guess I'm wrong. Now, the geek appears to avenge his father. We don't see the fight. Instead, it's from Amy's perspective as she waits to see who will be the victor. And it's the geek! Buzz is killed. She's the only one left now. She runs around for a while, and we get to see more and more of the funhouse until she finally ends up in the basement, where the inner workings of the ride are. It's very dark and grimy down here with chains and gears, the perfect place for a final showdown. The two fight, Amy only having a crowbar to defend herself with. But in a stroke of luck, the geek grabs it and falls back into an electrical box, only for him to be hooked by some chains. But he's not dead yet. He grabs Amy and the two come closer and closer to a spinning gear. Amy manages to escape in the nick of time, and the geek is finally cut in half and dies. And that was The Funhouse. What'd you think? Was it a good idea for Hooper to direct this versus E.T.? Obviously, it's not a question, but it wasn't all for naught. The Funhouse is a fun little horror movie. You do feel bad for the quote-unquote bad guy, because he was just horny. We've all been there before. The setting works. The funhouse is filled with tons of creepy animatronics, and the settings always change. You might have a knight in shining armor in one room, and then in the basement you have chains and brick walls. It mixes it all up. The four main heroes, if you will, are fine. Richie's a bit annoying, but he's supposed to be. Buzz is the muscle, and Amy is the innocent girl that ends up being the only survivor. It's all pretty standard stuff. The biggest downfall for me is that the carnival scenes go on and on. We spend so much time just waiting for something to happen, and it never does. If you cut that part out, however, I think you'd have a pretty fun slasher with a great creature surprise. I use the term creature lightly because he's just a deformed human, but that's better than the movie giving him the title geek. I give The Funhouse 2.5 Frankensteins getting a handy from a fortune teller out of 4.